It's the Nick Nash Podcast. Hello, everybody. Thanks for the download. Appreciate you tuning in. All right, so first, a quick recap of last week's episode with Sean Norman of the Wells Township Haunted House. Great guy. Great episode. Want to thank Sean again for coming on the show. Real quick, if you're listening to this the day that it is released, which would be a Thursday night, or maybe even Friday, just a quick reminder that Wells Township Haunted House is open again this weekend with only the Lights Out Tour. Now, if you don't know what the Lights Out Tour is, it's fairly self-explanatory. The lights are out, but when I say they're out, buddy, they are out. It's pitch black, and they give you a single glow stick for your entire group to get through the haunted house. It's super cool, and it's open this weekend. That is November... The hell is this weekend? November 2nd and 3rd, on Friday and Saturday. So if you're listening to this after that, you're SOL, big guy. But that's all right. Wells Township Haunted House is back in action again next season. So Sean Norman, the mastermind behind Wells Township Haunted House, thanks for being on the show. And if you haven't listened to that episode, it's available. You can download that. If you're downloading us on iTunes, you can find us elsewhere if you'd like to. We're on the website, nicknashpodcast.podbean.com. We are on Google Play, and we are now on YouTube as well, so you can listen to us at work. I mean, most people watch YouTube videos at work, right? Right? You're allowed to do that. If you have not listened to us on iTunes, or if you're not an iPhone person, you can get us on YouTube, Google Play, Podbean.com, and also the Podbean app. We're available all over the place. You can follow me on Twitter, at Nick Nash. I'm on Facebook. There's a Nick Nash Podcast page now. Give us a like, give us a share. We post the links to each new episode there as well every week. So, on to this week's episode. Got a great guest, Election Day, coming up on Tuesday. So this is kind of a timely podcast. It's one of those ones where, I don't want to say that if you listen to it after Election Day, it's no good, because it's still good. But it's more important to listen to it. We're going to drop it here Thursday night. So, you got the weekend to listen to it before Election Day. My guest on today's episode is Sara Wood. She is a Moundsville, West Virginia resident. She's running for Moundsville City Council. She's 29 years old, John Marshall grad. Very nice girl, and a very good conversation. And the question is going to come up, why did I have one single person running for office before Election Day? Isn't that not fair? It may be. It's not me playing favorites or anything, but I felt like Sara was an interesting candidate because I don't want to say it's only because of her age. She's 29 years old, and this is her first time running, but I feel like that weighed in to it a lot. I feel like she's got an interesting story. She's an interesting person, and she's well-spoken and has a lot of good things to say. So that's our episode today. If you're not happy with me, you're not the first. You won't be the last. If you'd like to be on the show, if you know somebody that wants to be on the show, I'm still open to having politicians on, absolutely, even after Election Day. If you know somebody, or if you have a suggestion, somebody you want to hear on the show, reach out. Get me on Twitter, Facebook. You can email me through the website, or nicknashpodcast@gmail.com. There's a million ways to get a hold of me. A lot of you know me in person. You can come up to me and say, hey, let's talk about this. Always taking suggestions. I'm up for having just about, I can't think of really anybody that I wouldn't have on the show. I mean, even if we're talking politics and it's like somebody that I don't align with, I would absolutely, and in fact, I think I would more enjoy to have that person on the show. So if you know somebody that wants to be on the show, reach out to me, or, maybe reach out to a person and say, hey, look this guy up. We got a fun podcast here. Did you hear that? That was my dog shaking his head. Nice looking at me. Hey, Coda Bear. All right, real quick, the Nick Nash Podcast is brought to you this week by Wheeling Threads and WheelingThreads.com. My good friends at Wheeling Threads, Daniel and Ashley, putting together the coolest, most badass designs that you can slap on a t-shirt. If you're from the Wheeling area, you're going to love this. If you're from Ohio County, Marshall County, West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, they've got a design for you. I'm currently on their website right now. We're going to kind of scan through some of these just to see what new designs they have. I talk a lot about the Moundsville Penitentiary shirt because, well, I live in Moundsville. I broadcast from Moundsville, and it's just a kick-ass design. I love that. But I'm looking at their designs on their website right now. The Elby's one. I forgot to talk about this one last week. You remember Elby's? Elby's Big Boy. They got an Elby's t-shirt, which is so cool. They had, and I don't want to speak out of turn here. Ooh, what is that? Ooh, that's a Coleman's fish one. Fried fish, white bread, Wheeling. I like that one. I got to get that one. They had, and it may have just been a special edition one, they had the Hills t-shirt. Hills, where the toys are. Remember Hills in Benwood? It's where I used to, ooh, there's a Big Bear one. Remember Big Bear? Old school designs. These are so cool. I can't speak for the Hills one. That may have been a special edition one, but it was super cool. Maybe they'll bring it back on my request if it's gone. I don't know. It might be on here. They've got so many different designs on here that I just cannot scan through them all that quickly. But there's a bunch of them. West Virginia, if you're a West Virginia native or a West Virginia transplant and you call it home now, you can do that and get one of these cool t-shirts. And, oh, there's the Hills ones. They are available. Hills is where the toys are. They even got that in a kid's t-shirt. Got to get one of those bad boys for Hudson. He doesn't remember Hills because he's 4. But, buddy, I do. Hills was, in fact, where the toys are. And where the Coca-Cola slushies were. Mm-hmm. That's right. All right, so Wheeling Threads, wheelingthreads.com. You can find them on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and, of course, at wheelingthreads.com. And go buy a t-shirt while you're at it. Huh? Or a hat or socks. They have Hills socks. This is unbelievable. Hills trucker hat. I love these. wheelingthreads.com. Check them out. Enough gabbing. Let's get into it. This is the Nick Nash Podcast with our guest this week, Miss Sara Wood. Let's do it. All right, we're live with our guest, Miss Sara Wood. Hi, Sara. Thanks for dropping in.
Thank you for having me.
How's the campaign going?
It's going well. I have been going door to door, trying to go to as many events as I can. I was at the Friends of Park and Rec swim dance they had. At
I saw they were doing that.
Last week. So that was really neat. And you get to talk to a bunch of different people from all over the city and understand what they think of Moundsville, what are our challenges, what are our opportunities. So it's been a great time talking to everyone and getting to know a lot of people in the community.
All right, so just real quick, we're going to back up because we mentioned the campaign. You are running for Moundsville City Council at large.
Yes, that's correct.
In 2018.
Yes.
This is your first foray into politics?
It is. It's my first foray into politics. I actually have a master's degree in public administration. So a lot of people ask me, what is public administration? And that prepares you
Yeah, I was just going to ask the same thing.
Yeah. So that it prepares you to work in government at the local, state, national level or in nonprofits. So it's always been something that I've had an interest in. I started out my career in the nonprofit sector. And so that's what I've done thus far. But I have a passion for Moundsville and our city, and I wanted to give it a try running for city council.
Yeah, you're a Moundsville native, John Marshall grad,
Yep.
class of 07.
Class of 07.
You told me, yep. So you've lived here your whole life, I'll assume. At least a majority of your life?
A majority of my life. So I went to WVU, and after I graduated from WVU, I actually worked out of the country for a couple years. And then
really?
I moved to Pittsburgh, and I was there for about a year and a half.
Huh.
So 3 years ago, I moved back. I wanted to be in the town that I was born and raised, work here, raise a future family here, and do something positive for the city. So
since graduating, obviously you graduated with that degree with the intent of getting into politics at some point, or is that not the case?
You know what? I would say that that's not really the case. So what I'm really interested in is nonprofit management and working for the community. But I think that actually goes hand in hand with running for office, because people that are running for office, we want to work in community development. We want to develop parks and rec. We want to work positively for our city. So I feel like my nonprofit background actually merges well with the foray into running for office.
I always think that a nonprofit background or a public service background is a great foundation for getting into politics, especially at the local level and certainly at the state and federal level as well. But when you're talking about city council or board of education, that sort of thing, it's nice to have somebody that has a background in certainly working with the public and knowing, being able to understand a constituent and being able to say, well, this is what they want. This is what we need to do. So I think that's great to have that background. But you never intended to directly jump into politics.
No, I did not. I'm trying to think how I even first decided to do it. I think
you got so damn mad and you just had to run.
You know what? That's part of it.
That's usually how it starts.
So as West Virginians, I think people complain about West Virginia.
Yeah.
We have one of the highest rates of young people moving out of our state. And I think people move away, they complain and say there's nothing in West Virginia, there's nothing for me there. Well, there's not going to be if we don't stay and try to do something about it. So that's why I decided to move back to West Virginia, and work here, run for council. I feel like I have some skills that could benefit the city. And I think we can't sit around and complain if we're not willing to do something about it. So I wanted to get up and try to do something about it.
That's great. That's great to hear. And I think a lot of people say, and I'm guilty of this too, of saying the same thing, but not actually doing that. You know what I mean? I say, well, nothing's going to happen if we don't do anything. Yeah. And then I don't do anything. So it's good to see that you're doing it. You're doing it.
I'm excited about it. It's been, win or lose, it's been a learning experience. Obviously, I do hope that the citizens, that have talked to me and know me and have worked with me in the past feel like that I would be a good candidate for city council. And I hope that I do get in there. But like I said, win or lose, it's been a really great learning experience.
So when did you decide? So you launched your campaign early this year, I think. From what I remembered, it was early this year. When did you decide I'm going to do it? Was it like a spur of the moment thing, or have you had this plan for a couple of years?
I've been thinking about it for a while, but really last spring, early summer, probably about April, May, is when I decided that I really wanted to do it. And we have to file by, I believe it was August 1, if you wanted to run. So I filed right at the beginning in July and got my name in the ring. So
you've been busy with the campaign.
Yes.
I mean, I've seen you all over the place. All summer at every event I saw you around, and your signage in town is very prominent.
Yes. Yeah. It has definitely been busy. It's a commitment. My day job, I work at West Virginia Northern, and I'm the director of student activities there. So for all three of our campuses in Wheeling, New Martinsville, and Weirton, I structure cultural, leadership, educational, and then just plain fun activities for our students. We're having a Halloween party tomorrow. We did pumpkin painting today. So it's a really fun job, but I do have a lot of events on the evenings and the weekends. So combining that with a campaign,
you're busy.
It's been a juggling act, but I think it's definitely worth it.
And that's an interesting perspective, because oftentimes you think about running for state office or running for federal office, where the campaign is a full-time job.
Right.
I mean, these are guys. This is one of the things that frustrates me about politics, especially at the state and federal level, is the people that typically run or have been in office for a long time I'm trying to word this in a way that's not offensive, but they're lawyers or jobs that you can take a lot of time off.
Yes.
Is that a good way of saying
it? That's a really diplomatic way of saying it.
That you at least have the time to take off and the financial comfort of being able to take time off and run a campaign on a full-time basis. So the perspective of the level of city council, the municipal level, trying to run a campaign that's much, much smaller, obviously, than a state or federal job, while still working a full-time job, still doing all of the regular things that regular people do.
Yep.
It's an interesting perspective.
And I think it's so important to have that perspective, too, because if you look at the demographic of West Virginia, we are not one of the richest states. We're not all people that can, not saying this of all politicians, absolutely, but we're not all people that are lawyers or doctors or have the opportunity to take a lot of time off of work and be able to, go downstate or do city council full time or something like that. So I think especially at the city level, you do have a unique perspective of people that are working, or maybe they're retired, but you get a well-rounded group of candidates.
I think that's good.
At the city level.
That's good. And especially, I mean, you look at, you know what, let's dive into, because I know I have a lot of listeners that are outside of Moundsville.
Mm-hmm.
So the Moundsville City Council is set up with 7 members, correct?
Mm-hmm, correct.
4 wards, 5 wards.
5 wards and 2 at large.
Is it 4 wards or 5 wards?
So we have, you're right, 4 wards.
4
1
wards
through 4.
And 3 at large.
Yes, 3 at large. Yes.
4 wards and 3 at large, which means they cover the entire city.
Yes.
And the mayor is elected from within city council.
That's
so we
correct.
don't have a technically elected mayor.
Yes.
By the city. It's the mayor is selected by city council. So
and I've had a couple people ask me what at large means. So if you're in a specific ward, then you are representing the citizens in a certain area that's designated in your ward. So if you're at large, you're representative of everyone within the city limits of Moundsville.
Right, the entire city.
Yes.
Where, like, I think, because I'm in Ward 4, I think, and it covers, you know, the east. Well, I'm gonna say, talk like a Moundsvillian, the East End area, and most of the like southeastern part of the town. So that, like, the 4th Ward council person would cover just that area. At large would cover the entire town.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're running at large.
Yes,
you're
I'm
going
running
for the
at
big
large.
fish.
I am. So it's definitely more ground to cover, more people to get to know. But I think I would like to represent the whole city at large rather than just a specific ward.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking Moundsville is what, just under 9,000 people within city limits. That's a lot of ground to cover.
It is. It's a lot of ground to cover. I know I can't meet everybody, but I've done some social media presence. So I started a Facebook page. It is called Sara Wood for Moundsville City Council at large. So I regularly post on there ideas that I have for the city, a little bit about me, my background, events that are happening, family programming. So people can just come to that page and express their opinions. I ask a lot of questions on there. I ask citizens what they would like to see in our city. What do they think the city could be doing better, just to start a dialogue with residents and get them expressing their opinions.
What are some of your ideas for the town? I mean, do you have like a priority list, like a top 10 things I want to do when I'm on city council?
So I don't necessarily have a top 10 things. There are a couple things that I want to do. I think for a very long time, as long as I can remember, in Moundsville, we haven't had a young presence in many leadership positions in Moundsville.
I'll agree with that.
So whether that is presence on nonprofit boards, presence on city council, at the commission, and any sort of leadership position, it seems like we haven't had anyone under the age of probably about 45 try to break that barrier to entry and get involved in the community. And I'm not sure exactly why that is, but I hope to be a voice for younger people too. You know, if they see me running for something, then they think, oh, well, she's 29 and she ran for city council. You know, maybe I can go and try to do this. Maybe I can, you know, try to get on this nonprofit board, try to run for city council next time and do something in the community. So I hope that spurs a little bit of involvement from the youth side. I was looking at some voting data from the last election, and between the ages of 18 and 21, how many people do you think voted in the presidential election? Between the ages of 18 and 21.
In the entire United
Marshall
States?
County.
In Marshall County. Between the ages of 18 and 21? 40%.
25 people.
No.
Yes, I swear. 25 people. Now, I don't know if that was Moundsville or Marshall County.
Marshall County.
I don't know if it was Moundsville or Marshall County. Either one,
Say
though.
it is.
25. I said the same thing. I said, you mean 25%? 25 people.
Oh, that is insane.
Yes.
Like, if I didn't trust you, I would say you're full of crap.
Fact check me.
Like, I believe you.
Fact check me.
I believe you because I trust you. But if I didn't, I would say you're full of crap.
I know. It's unbelievable.
That seems insane.
It does. It does.
18 and 20, or 18 and 21.
18 to 21.
Now, does that have to do with, well, it wouldn't have to do with college because they can still vote in Marshall County.
Absentee ballot.
Right.
You know, when you're 18 years old, a lot of those people are still in high school, though. So I don't know if it's, you know, a transportation issue, if it's,
you know,
what.
That's a really fascinating statistic because I hear things like that about how young people don't vote. Mm-hmm. And I've always thought, that's not true. Young people vote.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because I voted.
Right.
Maybe I incorrectly thought that just everybody was excited to vote as I was. I remember I turned 18 my senior year of high school. It was a 2004 election. Bush and John Kerry. I couldn't wait to vote. I couldn't wait. I was so excited to vote. That's insane.
Yeah, no, I was blown away by that statistic as well. And I've been told, don't even go after the young vote because they don't vote. And I think that's part of the problem.
That's the wrong way of looking at it.
That is completely part of the problem, because if we don't go after that young vote and we're not engaging those people, that's also part of the reason why they're not voting.
Of course they're not.
They don't feel like their voices are being heard, like they're included. So I'd really like to create a culture of participation in our city government in Marshall County. I've given out my public phone number in the Echo, my public phone number on my city council page. Anyone can contact me. I'm willing to speak with any group, any individual that wants to talk about the city. So I think, I haven't had a ton. I have not had a ton. I've had a few, I will say, but they actually just ran it in the Echo 2 days ago. So I'm saying I haven't got a lot, but we'll wait and see.
It's always risky business putting your phone number in the newspaper.
They actually called me and said, "Now we just want to double check. Do you want us to print this?
Do you want to do this?"
I said, "Yes, go ahead. I want to hear from everybody."
Well, you're in it for the long haul, then.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good.
So I think that'll increase transparency in our government if we have more people participating.
That's a good
even
thing too.
Publicizing when city council meetings are, when the traffic commission meetings are, when policy and planning meetings are. I'd like to have those minutes posted online so people can read and see what's being talked about. Yes.
Can we talk about the minutes for a second? I was on the city council website the other day. Last minutes were from September.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, let's get that stuff updated.
Yeah.
I want to read them too.
And that's because everyone can't go to the city council meetings. Right. So if they're posted regularly online, people can at least follow along and understand what's happening. There's a lot of really good information in the minutes that I think is important to provide to people and get out.
I think that's good. Now, you use the word transparency, and I think that's good at every level of government. And nobody ever really talks about it. It doesn't seem as important, I guess, at the municipal level as city government having transparency, but it is. And another thing that you said was the availability of positions or involvement with nonprofits or organizations from young people. I think it's almost hard to find. Like a lot of times, like I couldn't tell you the last time I heard of a position available with a local nonprofit. I just don't know that that sort of information is readily available. I'm not saying it's not readily available, but maybe it's not as in front of me as it could be.
Well, I think we need to do a better job of communication and collaboration in Moundsville. I think that we have a ton of stuff going on in our city. I always hear there's nothing to do. There's nothing to do for families and children. Yeah. And I think, we have had so many festivals and opportunities at the riverfront, at Grand View, on Jefferson Avenue, a lot of things going on. But I think it's how do we most effectively get that information to the people?
Right.
It's on social media. Not everyone's on social media. I also feel like there are a lot of neat projects happening, but maybe this group or this government entity doesn't know that this other group is embarking on it. And if we could just work together and communicate a little bit better, I think that we would get a lot more accomplished.
Yeah. I feel like there are a lot more things happening in Moundsville now than there were 10 years ago.
Oh, I absolutely
feel
that
like
way.
It's really come a long way. I mean, is Moundsville a perfect city? No, not by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
I think it's got potential. Absolutely, it does. Yeah. I love this town. But I feel like there's more to do here now on a weekly basis, especially in the summertime, than there was 10 years ago, or certainly when I was a kid.
Right. No, I feel the exact same way.
So I think it's moving in the right direction.
I agree. One thing that I do want to stress, going back to participation, is city council, people running for city councils, current city council members, the city manager, they don't know what you want for the city. They don't know if you're having an issue unless you talk to them.
That's
unless
100%
you come
true.
to the city council meeting and voice your opinion. So, if you're posting on Facebook and you're frustrated about something, or you have something that you think would be a really good idea to implement in the city, if you don't get out and communicate that to people, no one knows about it. And I think people are willing to listen. You have 5 minutes, stand up, get on the agenda at the city council meeting, express your opinion. There are a lot of avenues to be able to get out what you want to say and to have people listen. And I think people need to take advantage of that and just get out there and have your voice heard, because people do want to hear it.
I would love to see a better attendance at the city council meetings.
I agree.
And not even just people that have an axe to grind about something, just show up and listen.
Right.
I love going to the city council meetings.
Or, show up if you work for an organization that's doing something cool in the Ohio Valley, show up and talk about it. Let people know. The news is always there, the newspaper, and they sometimes print if there are things happening that they hear about. So it's a good place to get word out about what's happening in the town, too.
You don't have to be complaining about something.
No, absolutely not.
You can stand up and say nice things.
Shockingly, it can be a positive, too.
So the election is next week.
Yes, next week.
My.
So I'm excited for it to be over. I will say, like I said, it's been a great experience. I'm just, at this point, we're at the last few days, and it's getting a little anxious.
So how you feeling about it? Yeah, do you have a good inkling of an idea of how it's going to go?
I have no idea.
You feel confident, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm confident. Like I said, I feel like I have some tangible skills that I could offer to the city. I have a certificate in grant writing. I have the educational background and governance.
That's worth millions.
I have a lot of responsibility in fiscal management and budget creation, both at my job now and my jobs in the past.
Can we make you president?
So I have a background in community development and event planning and execution. So I feel like I have really tangible skills that I want to use to benefit the city.
Yeah.
And to me, city council is more than just attending 2 meetings a month. It shouldn't be you're coming and you're just talking about potholes or someone parked in the wrong spot. Well, all those things are absolutely important and are going to get addressed. We need to be thinking way beyond that, because if that's all we're thinking about is the day-to-day, then we are not having a vision and goals and a plan to move our city forward.
I think that's a problem, and I'm not speaking just for Moundsville, but literally any town, city, anywhere in the world, where it's so easy to focus on the little things.
Yeah.
Like you said, potholes. Yeah, they suck.
Yeah.
We'll get them fixed, but let's not focus so much on this one little minute detail of this one thing, and look at the big picture. Let's look at what we can do long term. Even like I've always said, like 5-year projects. Well, 5-year projects are tough because you go, well, it's not going to be done for 5 years, so do we really want to start this? But at the same time, if you never start that 5-year project, it never gets finished.
Right.
So I think big picture stuff is very important.
And I would like to see goals and a plan from city council yearly. I think it would be great to come out publicly and say, as a city council, this is what we've decided, 1, 2, 3, and 4, that we're going to focus and prioritize for this year.
Yep.
Absolutely, we're going to do everything else, but here are some of our main priorities for this year, and be able to, then we can look at the end of the year. What progress have they made on those? Where are we on those? Have we been moving forward? So just hearing a strategic vision from city council.
Yeah. You don't think there has been one?
I don't want to say that there hasn't been one. I think everyone does the best that they can. It is, it's not a high paid job. We're all there because they are all there because they want to benefit the city. But I would say that I don't think there has been a unified strategic plan from city council.
And you'd like to see that?
I would like to see that.
I would like to see that too.
Yeah.
Can we talk about parks for a second?
Yes, of course.
How do you feel about Moundsville's parks?
So I actually, my significant other is not from Moundsville. And I rode him around and we looked at all of the Moundsville parks and we thought, what would be neat to enhance this park, or what would be neat to enhance this park? And I will say our parks need a lot of work. I think that we are moving in the right direction. The city is trying to focus on the riverfront park, do some more projects, some more children's programming, some neat things down there. The director of Parks and Rec, Rico, is doing a really good job at Four Seasons Pool right now. They got new lights in there, a new pump, some tables and chairs and making some improvements there. But I think sometimes Parks and Rec, people don't see that as an economic driver, and it kind of falls to the wayside.
It's because they're not, and it does.
I would argue that they're not in the traditional sense, but that they are in a certain way. So I always reference this, but I was at a meeting and there was an individual from Reynolds Hospital there. And this individual was saying when new doctors are coming to the community, the first thing they ask about is schools. The second is how are the Parks and Rec.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think it can be a non-traditional means of bringing people to a community.
Absolutely. I think it would be something like if I was in my situation now, but I was moving to a new town, you know, I've got a wife and a young son.
Right.
I would absolutely want to know about
checking out the parks. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I spoke with Rico about is I would like to see community meetings for all of our parks. So before we go ahead and say, let's put this piece of equipment in or let's do this to East End, why don't we bring community members together from the areas in which those parks are located, have a meeting and say, you and your children use this on a daily basis. What would you guys like to see at this park? Let's get some more community involvement, some ideas out here. So then we're not placing something in a park that maybe won't be used, you know?
That people don't want in the first place.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of room for improvement in the parks. I'll be honest, there are certain parks in town, and I hate to say this, there are certain parks in town that I just won't take my son to.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like it's dangerous. I feel like it's outdated and not clean. Like, I hate to say those things, but it's true. So I would love to, I think everybody would like to see better parks. But again, it's one of those things where a public park doesn't bring in any money.
Right.
So it's hard to budget that sort of money in a city budget. I get it.
And public parks and Parks and Rec, they are never meant to be an income generator.
Right.
You know, even Wheeling Park, even Ogilvy Park, I would say they probably incur a deficit. Well, so it's more of a community good than it is anything else.
And I think pools are the same way. I don't think pools make a lot of money.
I don't think so either.
You know, I think they're not quite a public service in that definition, but for all intents and purposes, they're a public service.
Yeah, I'd agree.
You know, so
agree with that.
I get it. It's tough when you're talking about financial stuff. It's tough to justify dumping a lot of money into something like a park or a pool. But alternatively, I think maybe you find a way to do it.
I agree. One way that the Parks and Rec department has been generating some income is it was controversial when it happened, the campers down at the riverfront. Yeah. So part of that money does go to whatever upkeep is needed, new gravel down there, you know, anything that's needed. But the excess of that goes to the Parks and Rec department, which they haven't seen a great deal of money from that yet because it just really got up and running in about May. But that is another means that they're using to maybe do some extra projects that they wouldn't be able to necessarily do.
I think the reason that was controversial in the first place was because I don't know that anybody really understood the full details of that when it was first announced. So basically,
communication.
Exactly. Well, I mean, listen, you see that everywhere.
Yeah, I agree.
Somebody announces something and then Facebook blows up and by the end of the day, it's something completely different.
Right, yes.
It's just an unfortunate side effect of social media. It happens. But what happened was, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Moundsville took a plot of land that the city owned down near the riverfront and turned that into essentially a campground or not quite a trailer park, but a campground for trailers that out-of-state workers can park and live there. And the revenue from that will go into the Parks and Rec department. When I first heard about it, I thought, I'm not sold on that.
I was very against it when I first heard about it.
Because I didn't want to take, I didn't see a need to take a plot of land and turn it into essentially a trailer park when I think maybe low-cost apartments or something like that may have looked better on the city. That being said, I've seen the plot of land down there as it is now. It doesn't look all that bad.
No, it doesn't.
It's out of the way. It's not in the park.
Right.
It's across the road from the park. I having seen it, again, I'm that guy that goes, well, what the hell? But having seen it, I don't think it's that much of an eyesore. And I think in the long run, like you said, it could generate some big money for the parks.
And that's why when I first heard about it, I was initially against it. And I thought, no, that is prime Parks and Rec real estate down there. We don't need to be putting campers in that area.
Right.
You know, now that it's there and seeing it, like you said, I don't think it looks that bad. It's not actually taking up a lot of the actual riverfront park property. And
that was another thing I thought too.
Yes, and it is generating some income for Parks and Rec that desperately need some improvement. One thing that I would be against is there's been talks of taking some of the grassy area.
You're not allergic to cats, are you?
I love cats. I have two.
That's one of the 2 podcasts.
Taking some of the grassy area down there where there used to be the horseshoe toss.
Yeah.
And using that.
She's on the table. What is happening right now?
She knows I like cats. So, and using that for campers.
I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not a fan of that either, because that space is also really good Parks and Rec space that I feel like could really be developed.
But it can absolutely be developed because, one, there's really nothing down there in that area. There's a little playground, and where the horseshoe pits used to be, I don't believe there are horseshoe pits there now.
They're not, no.
And it's a slippery slope because all of a sudden you've got the trailer park across the road there, and then all of a sudden you're taking up that space. What's next?
And it's a slippery slope to me because I want to develop Moundsville for our citizens that are here for the long haul. And we can't continue to sell ourselves to different outside entities and give away different pieces of our Parks and Rec land. You know, I understand right now it can seem like it would be profitable to do that, but I think at a point, if we have just campgrounds everywhere and we are selling our town away, what do we have left for those of us that want to live here for the long haul?
What happens when gas and oil is over?
Yes.
Is that what you were trying to say?
Yes.
Listen.
Because as unpopular as this is, it's a non-renewable resource. It may be here for our grandchildren. It may be here for our grandchildren's kids, but it's not going to be here forever. So we can't put all of our eggs in one basket.
Well, and it's certainly not going to be mined in Marshall County that long. Listen, I'm mostly supportive, for the most part, of the gas and oil industry in West Virginia. I don't think that it's... I don't think it's a long-term solution. I think we have a lot of people coming into town, doing their work, and sooner or later it's going to dry up and they're going to go home.
Yeah.
And what are we going to be left with at that point? So I think your point about the parks, you've got prime real estate for parks and recreation, that are we going to hand it over to these departments, and all of a sudden in 20 years, 30 years, I don't know what it is, by the time my grandkids are kids, maybe, it dries up and they go away and we're left with a big hole in the ground.
Yeah.
That worries me.
I just think we need to be very careful that we are keeping our citizens in mind in this process too. And, you know, what is best for our community and our citizens. I'm not against gas and oil by any means, but I think that we need to just be careful too, that we're not doing anything that would be a detriment in the future to our town, to our citizens, to our Parks and Rec. Well,
and like it or not, we got to worry about the way the town looks too.
Yeah.
I'm not happy in the least about what happened with the Fostoria area. Yeah, there's a huge plot of land where the old Fostoria plant was. It was, I mean, prime real estate for anything. How many acres was that? Do you have any idea?
I'm not sure how many acres. Yeah.
A lot of land. And now it's a parking lot.
Yeah. My understanding.
And it sucks. I understand there was a need for a parking lot and somebody bought it, but we gave it away.
For like $1.
Like literally $1.
Yeah, literally $1.
We gave it away and somebody made millions selling it off.
I think the challenge with that was the city didn't feel like they had money to be able to do anything with that land. Also, that land, I believe, is zoned for industrial.
Right.
So that limits what would be able to be on that land.
But why wasn't the city, and you may not have an answer for this, I'm mostly speaking rhetorically, but why wasn't the city able to just sell it to, because they gave it to somebody that sold it, right? Isn't that what happened?
I thought
if
they
you don't
sold
know,
it.
that's okay.
I'm not sure.
I'm just asking
because
questions.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I was in
you weren't
the
on
country
city,
for that time. Yeah,
I wasn't even the damn country.
I don't think I was.
I have no idea, Nick.
But I think they sold it for $1 to whoever, and then I don't know if that company sold it to someone else. But here we go again with the vision and the strategic plan. If that would have been,
I don't think there was a lot of foresight
of
there.
that.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know that it was something that was thought about for the long term. I think it absolutely should have been because, that property had been there dilapidated for a really long time.
Right.
So they knew it was going to come down. They knew that there was a potential of something that could be done with that land. But I don't know that anything was thought of in advance or planned when that happened to be able to do anything with it.
And they didn't know what to do with it after the land was available. Yeah. And that sucks. I hate to see that. But that's over and done with, and you move on to the next thing. And that's why people like you are running for city council. Yeah. I think, advocating for our citizens is definitely at the first and foremost of running for city council. But I would argue that I think most people in our city care about our citizens. Most people in our city care about making our town better. But I feel like when you're running for city council, you need to be coming to the table with something more than that, because we all want what's best for the city and what's best for our citizens. So I feel like you need to have something an idea that you have, or something that you're able to contribute, or a certain skill that you have that you can put to use, so we can have a really well-rounded city council, and that, come November, the people that are in it can really sit down and get some stuff done. Yep. You want to talk about your opponents at all?
I don't know them very well.
I don't know them either. And when I say that, I literally have no idea who's running against you.
Okay. So we have Cindy Norris, David Euler, David, I believe, and this might be incorrect, the number of years, but 10 years ago was on city council for a term, I believe. I'm not sure if it was that long ago or exactly when it was.
Was on city council at one time.
Yes. And Jerry Gilbert.
Okay. I haven't seen any signage. I haven't seen any, maybe I'm not looking in the right places. I haven't seen anything on social media.
Yeah.
Everything is Sara Wood in town.
I have seen a lot of signs for other people, I will say. But I haven't seen a lot of social media presence. I haven't heard any of their ideas for the city.
Yeah.
I feel like I have been trying to get out my ideas and get out why I feel like I would be good for city council. And I would like to hear from them about what their ideas are for the city, why they're running for city council.
Yeah.
The Echo offered to run a picture and a biography and information about each city council person that was running for free. And so I just had mine run a couple days ago, and I wrote why I'm running for city council, a little bit about my background and some of my skills. None of my opponents put anything in the paper, and I would really like to have seen that and read it about why they're running.
Or did they not run it at all?
No, they ran mine.
They ran yours?
Yes,
but, good.
So, I mean, there are ads, like it'll say, so-and-so running for city council at large, vote, but there was no information.
Yeah. They didn't put the effort into doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's important not to vote off someone's name, not to vote if someone's been on city council. I think we need to hear why the person's running.
Well, I mean, my first impression with a story like that, and I didn't see it in the paper, but my first impression is like if they didn't put in the effort to fill out a thing for the newspaper, what the hell are they going to do on city council? That seems pretty easy to me.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's just about educating our citizens too. Like, we want to know who we're voting for.
Right. Absolutely.
And so I think that was something important that all candidates should have taken advantage of.
It might be a little harder even at the city level, because, I mean, when you want to know who's running for governor or president or senate or whatever, you can Google it and find all the information you want. City council is a little bit different.
Right.
I don't know.
You can try to look up their Facebook page.
I don't
look
know.
back in a yearbook or something. But
see what they're doing on Facebook.
Yeah.
See pictures of their kids. I don't know if that's going to get you any information, though. So I think it is harder to learn more about candidates at the city level.
Yeah.
And to say, okay, well, I know that person from whatever.
Well, and that's why I appreciate you having me on. And I actually called up Steve Novotny like a month or so ago, and I said, hey, I don't know if you would want to interview me, but would you want to have me on? I'm running for city council, because I think in Wheeling, they do candidate forums. They do the opportunity to have all candidates sitting there. People ask questions. They talk about why they're running. We don't necessarily have that here in Moundsville. So any opportunity where we can get out and talk to people and publicly say why we're running and what we stand for, I think it's really important.
And I've actually thought about doing that, because I'm nuts. I'm a little crazy. I don't know if you knew that, but I've got this huge yard out here that's fenced in, and we just put a nice big deck on the back. And I told my wife when we were building it, we're going to have a public debate here sometime.
Hey, we still got a couple days.
We got what, 5 days? And it's cold outside. But I was thinking, like, over the summer, like, we should have like the city council debate. We're going to make them debate like they do on TV.
I would be totally up for that.
And she's like, okay, honey, whatever you say. Whatever. But like, you're right. I want to see something like that. A public forum of some sort, or a public thing. So that even just a newspaper interview where everybody's in the same, all the candidates are in the same room, you're asking the same questions and get everybody's take on it, so that when somebody that doesn't really know who's running goes to the polls, they can go, oh, well, this person said this person said this, and they can make a somewhat informed decision. Yeah. It's hard to make an informed decision.
The reason I worry about this election, and the reason that I worry about city council, is I think people try to inform themselves, but you're right. There's not much information out there about the candidates. So I worry when they go, they're just going to click the first person, or maybe click the name they recognize, and they're not really going to know what that person stands for, or why they want to be on council.
They'll look at the ballot and say city council. I don't recognize any of those names. And they just skip it. And you don't want that either.
And city council is so important. You have unprecedented access to your local officials, more so than any other elected position in government. I mean, most of the time people do give out their home phone numbers. They give out their cell phone numbers, their emails.
And in a town like this, pretty much everybody knows where everybody lives.
Yes, you can come and knock on someone's door. You mostly know where they live.
And we're fortunate that Moundsville's still a town that you can do that.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
But for 9,000 people, what is it? Just under 9,000 people, I think.
I think it's like 8,600 or something like that.
So, I mean, that's not a small number of people, but I think in Moundsville, it's a very tight-knit community.
It very much so is.
A lot of people know. I mean, I can't go to Walmart or Kroger without seeing like 20 people I know. It is great. I love it.
That's one thing I love about Moundsville and I love about West Virginia, is we still have such a culture of talking to our neighbors, of just communicating with each other, saying hi when you're walking down the street, even if you don't know the person, waving in your car. And I think a lot of bigger cities and a lot of places have really gone away from that and don't really prioritize that anymore. It's me. Like, where do I need to go today? Here's my job, which everyone cares about to an extent. But I think that in West Virginia, we still have such a friendly, let's get together, let's talk sort of culture here, and I love that. We are.
I love us.
I do too.
I got that from my dad. My dad was a business owner in Moundsville for many, many years, and there were a lot of things that he stressed on me as I was growing up, and one of them was like just be nice to people, be friendly. I remember working at his store, and people would come in the door. You had to say hi. Yeah, you say hi to everybody that walks in that door, and that stuck with me.
Fun fact: my brother in high school actually worked for your dad.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Really?
K&W Hardware, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Small town.
It is a small town. Yeah, I worked there from the time I was 6 to the time I was 18 years old. Yeah, I was stocking paintbrushes there when I was 6 years old, for working for candy bars and Mountain Dew. But you're right. I think Moundsville is still a small enough town that there is that old school mentality of standing outside and BSing with your neighbors, or running into somebody at Kroger. You remember when you were a kid and like your mom would run into somebody at Kroger?
Yes.
Like, oh, yeah. Can we go? And now we're the ones doing it. I do it all the time.
Absolutely. Hudson's probably like, does my dad have to talk to anyone else?
Oh, how do you know all these people? But that's good. And that's one of the things I love about this town.
Me too. And I'm just passionate about the city of Moundsville. I mean, I feel like we have such potential and such growth in West Virginia, and
I think there's a lot of potential.
And in Moundsville, yeah.
There's a lot of potential.
You know, the fact that we do struggle with some of these things in West Virginia and in Moundsville, it only gives us more opportunities for growth. Yep. I feel like it gives more opportunities for people to get involved. I think city council can't solve everything. Elected officials can't solve everything. So we need active citizens that aren't just, like I said, on the sideline complaining. You know, if we feel like parks are dirty, let's get out and say, come May, we're going to have a Let's Go Clean Our Parks Day.
I think it's a great idea.
Let's get people together. Let's clean it up. And then after that, let's have something like the parks are clean. Let's have a get out and play in your parks day for kids. Have someone doing balloon animals, someone doing face painting, some cheap, non-expensive children's activities at the parks just to get people out and doing something. Yep. And little things like that, a couple people can organize and do. It doesn't have to be always huge undertakings. It can be little things that we're doing to try to move our city forward too.
I think there could be a lot of those things. I remember when I was you just reminded me of this, and I hadn't thought about it in years, and I don't know if they still do it, but I remember when I was in Boy Scouts a million years ago, we used to do the river sweep. Is that what it was called? The river cleanup, river sweep, something like that, where we would go down and pick up trash along the river in town. I don't know if they still do that. I hope they still do that. Yeah. But little things like that are good. They're good community projects.
So the Reinvent Wheeling Group, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but there's Reinvent Wheeling, there's Revitalize Wellsburg, there's a variety of organizations like this that were just created by citizens that care about the community and want to do something. That's one thing that I want to do. I want to create, I'm thinking of calling it Motivate Moundsville, something like that.
I like it.
Let's get some people together that care about the city, and let's talk about what we want to do. If we want to do a river sweep, if we want to do a cleanup, if we want to try to start a First Fridays on Jefferson Avenue in Moundsville, talking about some community development things like that as just a group of active citizens.
I think it's a great idea.
Are you going to be in it?
Oh, I'm there. I'm there. You want me there? I'll be
You're
there.
My first recruit.
Okay. All right. So the election is Tuesday.
Yes, it's Tuesday.
Good luck.
Thank you. And just get out and vote is what I want to say. You know, it doesn't matter who you're voting for. Get out and participate. It's a privilege that we're able to elect our officials in this country at every level, and get out and make your voice heard.
And this is obviously a big election day, not just at the city level, but at the federal level. There's a lot happening. So get informed, get out there and vote, and good luck.
And I will give my cell phone number again since I've been giving it out everywhere. I'm doing it.
You don't know my listeners.
If anyone wants to get in contact with me and talk about the city, talk about cats. I love cats. We have Nick's cat here. Really anything that you want to talk about. Community development, what my plans are for the city, what your plans are for the city. You can go ahead and give me a call at 304-639-6088. Thanks for having me on, Nick.
Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Good luck to you.
All right, thank you.
And after you're on city council, let's have you back on again.
Okay, thanks for the positivity.
Okay, good vibes. You're
All
right.
right, thanks
you.
Thanks,
Sara. And that's our episode with Miss Sara Wood. Thank you, Sara. Good luck in the election coming up. Of course, Election Day is Tuesday. And again, a podcast is kind of a weird thing. I did 13 years of radio broadcasting, and you could say, well, Election Day is Tuesday. But now, it's a podcast, so anybody can download anytime. It could be, heck, maybe if you're listening to this right now, it could be 2021. You could be listening to this in the future. And Election Day 2018 doesn't mean much to you. But if you're listening on the day that it was posted, or this weekend, make sure to get out and vote. On Election Day, I won't tell you who to vote for, but I will tell you to go out and vote. Try to make arrangements to do it and get that done. It's a very important thing. So Sara Wood was our guest today. Congratulations to Sara on her running for Moundsville City Council, and good luck to you. I hope to hear a lot more from Sara in the future. She's got a lot of good things ahead of her. So the Nick Nash Podcast brought to you today by Wheeling Threads and WheelingThreads.com. You check them out online at their website, WheelingThreads.com. They're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And I was talking before the show about the Hills t-shirts. I'm looking at them right now on the website. Remember Hills? It's where the toys are. They got t-shirts, hoodies, kids' shirts. They got a toboggan. It says a knit cap here, but it's a toboggan. They got socks, a Hills trucker hat. Hills is where the toys are. And the Coca-Cola slushie. WheelingThreads.com. They've got the most kick-ass designs in the Wheeling area. If you're a Wheelingite naturally or a transplant, or maybe you don't live in Wheeling anymore and you miss it, and you should, you can check out these really cool designs, including the Moundsville Penitentiary shirt, the Suspension Bridge, McCulloch Sleep, and many, 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 many more. They got a bunch of t-shirt designs on here. They're all very, very cool, high-quality t-shirts. I rock mine all the time. WheelingThreads.com. Daniel and Ashley cranking out some of the coolest designs in town. Love these guys. WheelingThreads.com. That is the Nick Nash podcast for today. Thanks for listening. If you made it this far, I appreciate you sitting here listening to me gab. I do appreciate it muchly. We'll be back next week with another episode, and I'm not going to tell you who the guest is. You'll just have to wait and find out. Download the show on iTunes, Google Play. We are now on YouTube for streaming. And Podbean.com, nicknashpodcast.podbean.com. Download us. Live it, love it, learn it, love it. Download it, listen to it. It's a Nick Nash podcast. Thank you very much. Goodbye. This is where the toys are.